People who are ghosting other people, have you ever been called out? If so, how did that make you feel? This happened recently. I had a friend I had known for 25 plus years. We wound up at the same company and realized we lived very close. She was all into office gossip and talked trash about people I liked. I asked her to stop. Any obstacle I was facing was dismissed because she had been through worse. When I needed to talk to someone about personal struggles I was having, she would talk over me and change the subject to her issues. This went on for a few years. I would hang up after talking to her and question why I bothered. Finally, I had enough. I ghosted her, and after a few months, she reached out to me via text. I replied and told her why. I was not cruel, just honest. Now I am mean and hurtful. I blocked her and am not regretting this at all. I think about her and hope all is well. I just needed to sever the ties. As the great Tupac Shakur once said, "Just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table." Tupac also said revenge was the sweetest joy, next to getting pussy. Are we forgetting that Tupac once also said, rather poignantly, "That's why I effed your bitch, you fat mother effer"? My 44 make sure all your kids don't grow edit. My comment blew up bigger than I thought it would. That just happens to be my favorite line from Hit 'Em Up, and I thought it would be funny in this context, but I don't think that him saying something like that negates the positive change he tried to make in the world. Like many important people in history, Tupac was a really complex figure that grew up in a structure of violence and emulating a lot of what he saw. He also tried to do a lot to lift people out of that cycle of violence and had an entire philosophy that can't be summed up with one random line from one of his rap songs. Thug life. This whole thing belongs in our /blursid comments, Reddit link. I had the same friend. But when I ghosted, they just accepted it and ghosted back. A mutual friend later told me that she said we got into a big fight and that's why we weren't friends anymore. I was not around for this fight that supposedly happened. I'm just glad to have moved on and learned not to befriend people with that kind of personality. Lamau, wonder what your other friends said when they found out the fight was fake. I assume you mean the mutual friend? He didn't really react, besides to say something like, "Ah, that makes sense," when I explained why I ghosted. 90% of people who ghost have an entirely different version of events. I was accused of ghosting someone who had stopped talking to me months earlier. I think I was supposed to chase them and fix things? My ex constantly wanted me to fight for her. After a while I was just like, why? I learned it's a waste of time to fight for a person back in my teen years. By the time you need to start fighting to be with a person, they've already made up their minds and have mentally and emotionally moved on. Fighting to stay in a relationship is exhausting and depressing. If someone truly wants to be with you, they won't play games like this. I won't even do this with texting. I have a friend who reaches out with a text or two, then disappears the minute you ask her anything serious she doesn't want to discuss. She wants people to pursue her with questions and worry about why she hasn't responded. I've shown her consistently that I won't be that person. I'll give someone all the time in the world, but F off if you think I'm going to chase you. I wish I'd learned this earlier in my marriage. Last years were just so hopeless in my end. Makes me sad to think about me. Chin up, friend. Better without them. I never even realized I was being emotionally abused until I met my current wife. Things are effortless in our relationship. It's so clear to me now. It also changed my entire perspective on physical abuse. Not that I was like, yes, people deserve physical abuse, but I've come to see how it's hard to escape in many senses. Thank you so much. You can't believe how much that means to me, and pretty much same. I have always wondered why someone just cut off abuse or wouldn't. Were it physical or emotional. I do understand things bit more. I'm just so lost right now. Couple to none friends. No one cares how I am doing. No one to ask how I'm feeling or how day, week, and month has been. Studying you change profession and taking care of 3 boys is exhausting, and no one to share these thoughts or feelings is just a tad too much for me ATM. But what can I do except keep going? You are quite right. Example, I have a old high school friend who only calls when he needs help. We are now in our mid-30s, and after years of being asked to help with favors and not being invited to just hang out, I got fed up and just started ghosting him. It wasn't a conscious decision, I just started letting more calls go to VM and not bothering to call back. This was when texting still cost $1 per text. Turns out the reason he only called me when he needed help was because I never accepted any invites to just hang out and have fun. However, when he asked me to help him do something, even if he didn't truly need the help, I would always head over and then we would hang out the rest of the evening like old times. So he adapted, and instead of inviting me over for a beer, he would ask for a hand wiring and a ceiling fan, move a sofa, buy a refrigerator, and jump a dead car. Then inevitably, we would end up having a beer and catching up after the work was done. It took years before it dawned on me that he only called me for favors, because it was the only way he could get me to come and bond like we used to. Now we have a good relationship, and while I may not hear from him for months or even years at a time, we both know we can randomly invite the other over to help on a project and then catch up like we used to. What a roller coaster. He is the bad guy, you're the bad guy, no one is the bad guy, and you came to an understanding. Communication is so often the key. I'm glad you two figured it out. Similar thing happened to me. Except with food requests for parties. A request for my famous fruit salad inevitably came in after I accepted a party invite from a particular friend, and I began to resent it. Found out during a fireside chat that she'd make the request to ensure I wouldn't flake on her. So glad we had that conversation. Edit, updated ensure to ensure. It took years before it dawned on me that he only called me for favors, because it was the only way he could get me to come and bond like we used to. It may have taken you years, but many people never get this far. Well done. I'm glad for the happy ending. That tracks, to be honest. When you ghost, you're just not bothering with any communication, so no wonder neither of you are on the same page. In my experience, the root of the problem is often a communications issue that feels like it can't be resolved. Like a catch-22 where you want to fix it but feel like it will just make it worse. I had a buddy and we got into a fight, and it felt too difficult to confront because it would just be more fighting. But my buddy called me and left a message, "Well, we're still going on our trip together next month. Don't be a pussy, let's figure this out. Call me back." So we did. And it was a huge lesson for me the way he pushed forward like that. I had been afraid of repeating an experience I'd had with another friend where confronting it just made it worse, so we just drifted away. I think both situations worked out about right. I once felt quite guilty, as it was quite literally exactly what I had done in every sense of the word, but honestly, most times it's always a mutual ghost. Like vibes were off, we don't have to explain. Yup, people come, people go. Don't like that we went separate ways, let's talk about it. The problem happens when one party wants to talk about it and just gets nothing in response. My best friend, who I hung out with almost every day for years, stopped replying to my messages completely a couple months ago, and when I saw her and tried to talk to her about it, she basically ignored me. I asked her how she was and what she'd been up to, and I only got single-word answers. When I asked if her phone number was the same, because I had been trying to text her and sometimes she changes it suddenly, she just said yay, so I took that as her just not wanting to talk to me anymore. Yeesh, is your former best friend also my former best friend? Legit had the exact same thing happen to me. Considered this girl my BFF, hung out nearly every day together until she moved away to another state. NBD, will still text all the time like usual, right? Except then I notice I'm always the one starting conversations and it goes longer and longer between her responses. I asked if things were okay, if I did something that upset her, or if she was just busy being in a new place, and she tells me everything's fine. So I stop texting her and wait to see how long before she messages me. 2 years later I'm still waiting and legit don't know what happened. Some people are just really bad at keeping humans on their radar if they don't see them face to face on the regular. I notice this is biting some of my acquaintances in the ass now, during COVID. Now that they're not going out anywhere, they're super lonely. Like, of course you're lonely, if you made no effort to communicate with friends via phone/internet for 10 years. That's not a best friend. Sorry that happened. The person being ghosted is not always the victim. Especially when that person follows you, makes every situation awkward and weird, and absolutely refuses to get the memo that you're already taken and will never be interested in them. As someone who is the ghoster in a situation like this, 100%. I have a girlfriend, I am not looking for a boyfriend as well. Or maybe just not your friend. Second this. I have ghosted people who would just not take a no for a no. I have also ghosted people who wanted to manipulate and control me or who thought I owed them my friendship because they liked me platonically but who I have no interest in spending time with. Everyone has their reasons, but some of these stories just seem off. When things aren't going well in my life, I turn inward and isolate myself. I'm not good at receiving support and therefore I avoid people when I'm not doing well. It makes me ghost the people I care about and then suddenly contact them again and the cycle continues. I've been called out on it and I'm honest. I'm sure it's hurtful and it makes me feel awful, but I don't know how to be anything but the happy supportive friend that you'll get close to, and I'll disappear when I can't be that. This is exactly how I feel, but I have never been able to put it so well. I disappear when I feel like I can't be a happy supportive friend. I feel you. I do this too when crap starts to pile up. I just tap out and stop trying. Which makes me feel worse. And then that just spirals me out of control, which pushes me away from people even more. The hardest part is that I'm so aware of it, but when it happens, I feel completely helpless. Here, we can use this as sort of a personal life away message of sorts for letting others know, hi, thanks for your message. Things currently aren't going well in my life and therefore I'm turning inward and isolating myself. I'm not good at receiving support and therefore I avoid people when I'm not doing well. Instead of ghosting you, I just wanted to let you know that I will be mentally and emotionally away for a bit. As soon as I am back, I will let you know. You may reach my cat, Alfred, at 3034X for anything urgent. Thank you and good day. Of course, no guarantees that any of us will remember to let folks know we're back, but maybe this can help disrupt the cycle that /user unclebigfoot alludes to. Reddit link. I don't know why I've never thought to do this before. It seems like it would be really helpful, people would know where my head's at, I wouldn't have to make up some anxiety-fueled dishonest excuse and I wouldn't feel the guilt and shame if someone replied pushing my boundary because I was really clear. I'm going to try this. I already do this, just a little less formal. 99% of the time I'll get a hope you feel better soon, let me know if you need anything style response and maybe an occasional meme with no obligation for response. It's a great system when you have people that respect it. Note if people don't respect it, have a proper talk with them when you're up for it because that's not how you support people and you deserve support. Holy crap. You have me spot on. Then, my anxiety gets the better of me when I do want to reach out cause I'm afraid they're all just done with my bullcrap. I know it sucks, and everything people will say will come off cliche, but letting someone in has been the best thing I've done recently. Let me just say, I have a really good friend who has ghosted me all of this year. I know he struggles with depression and anxiety, but it would make me so incredibly joyful to receive a text or call from him. I wouldn't hold it against him in the slightest. I am right there with you in this one, I am doing this right now. I know those who have been with me for a while understand when I'm in this wave and give me the space. But I'm sure it's still hurtful. Wish I was better. Not sure, I'm ghosting my emotions right now, ask again later. Bury them deep down like a volcano and hope they don't resurface. Emotional composting. So when does the ground become fertile? Because I've been composting for a while and it still seems like mushy banana peel and apple cores and not very earthy. My happiness ghosted me back in 2016. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.